Kansas State.
Yeah.
So UT football, Sarkisian has completed his staff, the wide receivers coach, I think one of the latest.
Right.
They've got a bunch coming back. We always know that the expectations are out of control no matter what because of who they are. But it does appear as if, despite losing Roschon and Bijan and Overshown and others, that this could be a legitimate hype machine, you think, this offseason with who they have?
Well, I'm pumping the brakes. I did my early season top 25 team Sunday Smoak, and I didn't have Texas in my top 25. I know everybody else is going ape over them, and they're probably ranked anywhere from 15 to 18. I'm going to wait and let, A&M, Texas, and Oklahoma prove it and not just give them the benefit of the doubt. On paper, boy, Texas, they've been a powerhouse on paper before. That hadn't gotten them to the CFP. We all know that. I mean, you got 10 starters back on offense. You got everybody but Bijan Robinson. So you got your entire offensive line. You got a quarterback that you think you believe in. You got the great wide receiver transfer from Georgia who's caught touchdowns in their last 2 title games. So, on paper, it looks really good. Let's see if they develop it. Let's see if Sark can win close games. Let's see if Sark can be smart enough to give the ball to his running back if you have a Bijan Robinson more than 12 times against TCU. So, the jury's still out. When you're, 13-12 after, just 2 years, I'm going to wait to see the proof in the pudding.
It's been a bit of a curse for Texas coaches the last couple times that when they lose, they don't give the ball to Bijan Robinson. Now he's not there for him to give the ball to, so maybe they'll open it up.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, Jonathan Brooks is a talented running back from Hallettsville, and they got Ted Baxter, depending on who you ask, a 4 or 5-star kid out of Florida. So, you got that and 10 starters. Xavier Worthy is as good as they come if he gets his head on straight and, catches the easy balls like he didn't in the Alamo Bowl. But, like I said, I don't know if it is a curse. They haven't won, 10 regular season games, since 2009. They won it when they went to the Sugar Bowl and beat Georgia, but regular season, I mean, they lose about 4 or 5 games every year, and that's not going to cut it. So there'll be a lot of pressure on Sark in year 3, and especially when you look around the country and first-year coaches like Lincoln Riley at USC, Dan Lanning at Oregon. Sonny Dykes, what did he do? Oh, okay, he got to the title game. There's a lot of pressure when you look. Hey, just look up the road. Texas, Dave Aranda in year 2 wins the Big 12, wins the Sugar Bowl. Of course, now they may be mad at Dave. It's like, come on, where's the follow up? You get spoiled pretty quickly if you're a fan. We all know that.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Kirk, when it comes to the Big 12 and Texas, are you guys sensing that you're preparing for the final year of the Longhorns playing Big 12 football? Or are you like everybody else, like us, we were discussing this earlier, we don't have a clue of when the last year of Oklahoma and Texas will be outside of just knowing it has to be in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think reading between the lines, guys, it sure seems like this will be the last year. It seems like all the parties are ready for it to happen. It's the longest divorce since Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. Yes, it's like, really, are you going to do this or not?
Right.
So, and I think the Big 12's ready, and the fact that 4 new teams are coming in next year kind of shows how unwieldy it's going to be. I assume the schedule will be released before September. I'm at least hoping so. And it's funny, guys. You kept hearing the rumors like, well, they're negotiating. There's a small possibility. One Big 12 administrator told me, I think there's a 30% chance Texas and OU could still leave this off season. I go, well, they got to move a lot of mountains to do so. But I think everybody again is ready to rip the Band-Aid off. But if I had to guess just from reading the tea leaves, I'm guessing this will be the last year in the Big 12.
Kirk, have you heard or had anyone who's a part of the UT administration or whoever, from Kevin L-Type, whatever else, have any kind of thought that they don't even want to have to play a game in Cincinnati? Like that would be like, ooh. Is there any of that at all? Have you heard any of that at all?
No, I haven't. But if I'm the Big 12, I'd make it as hard as possible on those 2 that left. They're the one that have caused all this upheaval and trauma. So I keep thinking Texas is going to get a schedule where they're going to BYU, Cincinnati, and UCF. Houston seems to think Texas is coming down there. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they send them all over the country. This is the year they're supposed to go to West Virginia. So, maybe they get 4 out-of-state road trips to these newcomers. So, I don't know what to expect. I'm surprised that they haven't released the schedule yet. They're obligated by February 1st by their TV partner contract to do so. So, I mean, who knows? Hell, I was even joking around like they wouldn't not schedule Texas and OU, would they? And say, well, it just didn't fit in the schedule, or play Texas and OU first week in September. I'm hoping they don't tamper with history and tradition and do something like that.
Well, that would hurt them money-wise, too, because it does bring the eyeballs to the conference as well.
I don't think TV would be too happy with that.
Yeah. It's. I think it is time. Play this season, play the football season, and let them all move on. But they're not going without writing a big, fat check. Have you heard anything other than what, the exit, $80 million, $120 million? Have you actually heard or been able to pinpoint a number of what that number would still be?
No, but when the news first came out a year ago, or 2 years ago, what is it now? We always heard the $80 million, and our assumption was because of 4 more years in the league that it would go down $20 million a year. But Bob Bowlesby told us, no, it doesn't necessarily work that way. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure what formula they use, and I'm not sure it's still $80 million. But I would think, if I'm the Big 12 and I could get $40 million from each of them, or $60 million from each of them, and get $120 million, and each school gets a big paycheck for $10 million or something like that, they would take it. But again, there's not really any motivation for the Big 12 to take it because they get a better TV contract from ESPN and Fox with Texas and Oklahoma included. So it works both ways. And I don't see Texas and OU stepping up to the plate and saying, how much should I make the check out for?
No, they're not. And that's what the attorneys are there for. The story, right. Dennis Dodd had a story. We had him on last week that of the 8 remaining teams who will be the originals who are still left, they gave in $16 million to bring in the new 4, so they would have some money. And so what they want, at least minimum, would be able to return the $16 million times 8, which is $128 million. So that's kind of and that you would still think there's still leverage. The Big 12 has leverage if Texas and Oklahoma want to leave. Just can't wait. Let's move. Let's go. Let's get it out of the way.
Yeah,
and go.
You wonder. You'd almost think too that maybe ESPN and Fox would up the ante too because they want it done. So you don't have all the uncertainty and and toxicity when you really get down to it. I mean. Texas gets a lot of hate wherever it goes, and a lot of it's justifiable, So, again, rip the Band-Aid off. Let's do it, and let's make it palatable for all parties because the Big 12 is not at fault in this. We all know that. This is Texas and OU's decision to move on. And not to say that greed had anything to do with it. No, I didn't say that out loud, I don't think. But, pay the piper.
We had Mac Rhodes on. We have him every Tuesday. When we asked him about the schedule delay, which, as you mentioned, February 1st, which is Monday, is the 31st, and he's been saying late January. He still said it's trending that way, which it needs to be. But then I followed up and I asked him about, has he heard of anything that maybe anybody in the conference, without specifically asking about Texas and Oklahoma, are maybe looking at some of these road trips of the incoming 4 and kind of like, no. And he kind of almost like spit giggled in a way and kind of danced around it for a little bit before getting back to this when the schedule was going to be released. So that was kind of interesting yesterday.
And you figure the 4, was TCU just happy to be there when they got pounded by Georgia? Well, I don't necessarily think so. They just didn't play very well in that game. But these 4 newcomers are just kind of glad to be here because they're all moving up, a level, into the Power 5 echelon. So, but I think for now they're just glad to be here. But, time's a wasting. Let's move on. I mean, who knows? By the time this happens, maybe the Big 10 will have 24 teams at the rate we're going.
Kirk, thank you as always. Appreciate your time. Kirk Bohls, a columnist for the Austin American-Statesman, also part of that